Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's been really surprising, particularly back in the spring season, to not see these really big name junglers like Lawman and Scudzy making more of a inroads for the team. The Dual Exeter NUEL Live Finals was a pretty big surprise of the season, but Monkey Cage now able to take their position back up here. I think another summer tournament win for Monkey Cage would be immensely satisfying, but honestly, I think it's going to be a pretty tough shout for them.
Yeah, especially bearing in mind that they're going to have to go up against the winner of the other series that is going on at the moment, and that will be Waluigi versus, I think, is it the Pool Party Lugs? From Loughborough, I believe they're the team that won their series. So that game is going on now. The grand finals will be streamed next week on the same channel, give these teams a bit of a chance to prepare. And it looks like we've got a couple of prepared picks coming in anyway, as the Cat, a strong Thresh player, big fan of that champion, is going to get that lock in alongside the Kindred for Lolman.
Okay, well, the Zillion will be the final piece of the puzzle. East Anglia managing to pick up two forms of Death Defiance in both the Lambtra Spite for Lolman and for the Zillion Chrono Shift. Interesting. I wonder what they're going to try and protect. Will it just be Lawman, or maybe we will see something else?
If anyone's been keeping up at all with the NALCS in particular, Cloud9 have been playing this combination of champions to disgusting effect. Usually, Kindred is a fairly squishy champion that you don't want to be playing as a frontliner, but seeing Blabber alongside Jensen on the Zillion, Blabber's just flashing over walls, jumping over walls into 5 members. And even if they crowd control him and lock him up so he's not able to get Lambs or Spite off, it doesn't matter because Zillion can get the revive anyway. So it really just enables Kindred to play a lot more aggressive, and having such a strong individual talent as Lolman in the jungle, it's really going to unlock him and let him just uncaged. And he's just going to go a little bit ham if he's able to get the early game swinging in his direction. However, the one game that I touched on earlier, where he was playing Gragas and dominated the game, he was up against a Kindred, and now he's going to have to be playing the reverse side of that matchup. So we'll see if Tea Cake with Jam is able to replicate the strong performance that Lolman had a couple of weeks back.
That's going to be an interesting name to say in a hurry, but yes, when we make the good point here, of course, we've got that explosive cask to drive the members of East Anglia out of that Lambtra Spike, and a really limited effect for Lawman as the last bans do come through. Looks like East Anglia looking to try and protect their mid lane. So Warwick stripping away Karma Envy's Rumble up on the top side, which is a real shame. Would have loved to have seen Karma Envy back on the Rumble pick. Extremely effective.
Yeah, all 4 bans in the second stage have been targeted at ability power, magic damage based champions, and they already have the Morgana locked in for the side of the Noob Slayers from Warwick, and just getting rid of magic damage is going to make that Black Shield far more powerful. As the more magic damage that you can remove from the side of the other team, the longer that shield is going to stay in place, the more crowd control it's going to block. Thresh can struggle into that lane, since usually the death sentence isn't enough to burst through the shield, so he can't follow up with the combination of the flay that he wants to get the box to engage these team fights. So intelligent banning from the Noob Slayers, but locking in Shaco wouldn't be quite as intelligent, but Cassiopeia a little bit more so.
Yeah, well, we've got the Mundo as well, a big hunk of beef on the front line of the Warwick lineup. We'll see what East Anglia have got for us. The Monkey Cage, we've got one more pick to try and surprise us. The Jin coming in as potentially, well, we'll see if it will be the Gnar locked in to finalise this first game's pick phase.
It will be the Gnar for Karma Envy in the top lane, so going to be something that can bully the Dr. Mundo around a little bit in the early game, but as soon as Mundo starts to get some of those items and start scaling into the late game, not really too much of a kill threat for the Gnar, but he does still have a strong split push presence, and he has the teleport as well. He can make a huge impact in team fights, and he's going to have to be this sort of primary form of engage. As I said, Thresh might struggle into the Morgana, and Xayah herself has the ability to disengage using the Featherstorm ultimate to make herself invulnerable, keeping herself alive through some sticky situations. So it's going to be a fairly execute-heavy team comp brought out for University of East Anglia. There has to be some nice cohesion in the team to really get the full extent of this composition's power across onto the board and make it stick onto the Noob Slayers of Warwick.
Okay, so yes, we've kind of covered that we've got the double Death Defiance and the Kindred and Zillion picked up early for East Anglia. As an overall game plan though for the Noob Slayers from Warwick, yeah, what are they trying to do in the various parts of the game here?
So the Noob Slayers from Warwick, they definitely have a weaker team comp within the early game, but as it scales up, just individually, the levels of champions just scales exponentially higher, I think, for the Noob Slayers. There is some sort of synergies that will increase the effectiveness of the champion pool of the East Anglia team. For example, as we've touched on, it's not even Death Defiance, it's just straight up just not dying ever for the Kindred if he gets the Zillion on top of him. So there's definitely things that scale very heavily and are very difficult to deal with, but on an individual basis, the champion picks for the University of Warwick just outscale those on their opposition, maybe with the exception of Gragas, who generally tends to build a couple of damage items and then goes into the tank, whereas Kindred goes for the full damage. But Jin, more powerful in the earlier stages of the game than Xayah will be, so expect to see the Cat and I Came to Party look to get some aggressive pushes down into the bottom lane and get some pressure down there, maybe force Tea-Cake with Jam to path more down towards the bottom side of the map, and that will open up the jungle for Lolman to get those invades, start stacking up the marks and start scaling harder, because the more marks he gets, the higher the effectiveness of the Kindred in the later game. And with Zillion lock-in, this composition is effectively all about the Kindred.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, Lolman certainly has a lot of hype building up around him. You can see that there's already Monkey Cage supporters in the chat. If any of you guys watching here today have got any particular team affiliations, please do give them the shout out in our Twitch chat. And of course, let us know why exactly you think your team is going to crush the opposition. It's worth bearing in mind, because we are in the semi-final stage, or the playoff stages, we are now in best of 3. So we'll get to see these guys play at least twice here tonight. But, Saga, it sounds like you're feeling a little bit better about Warwick's chances in this first game. Am I reading that correctly?
I think the longer Warwick can draw this game out, the better it is for them. We know Xayah, a champion who gets incredibly strong at about the 2, maybe 3 item mark, picks up the Storm Razor, maybe a rapid fire cannon, and that's where she really comes online. Similar story with Cassiopeia, gets the Archangel's staff and just gets that huge damage shield. With the Phase Rush and the Ghost available, will have an immense amount of movement speed to kite her way around these fights. 2 massive scaling hyper carries on the side of Warwick, so if they can get this game to go long enough for their tanks to become effectively unkillable, to sort of mirror the actual unkillable that they have on the side of East Anglia, I think the team fight victories should go towards Warwick's favor.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm trying to figure out in my head how these team fights are going to play out, because presumably, yeah, they do go long if we have the Lambsha Spike coming out, the Chrono Shift to bring back somebody from the East Anglia side. But I do wonder, I mean, yeah, once we've got enough tankiness to the Warwick side, if it's not actually just going to favour Warwick for those fights to go long anyway.
Well, I said the words execution heavy, essentially, is how the East Anglia team comp works. If their execution can be on point with the picks that they have, and they can find the engages, maybe the flanks teleports with Na, who can get the engage in before maybe the Black Shield comes through, or if Zillion can land a couple of bombs to burst through the Black Shield of Morgana, so that opens up opportunities for Thresh to actually get in and find those picks and have the engage potential that he was picked for, then things could definitely go the way of East Anglia. It just entirely depends on how cleanly they can execute based on the picks they've chosen.
Alright guys, we will be jumping in shortly to our first game of the semi-finals. Saga, we'll just pause up around 10 seconds or so to let the spectator load through. For any of you guys who've unfamiliar with this particular practice, what let's do is we'll make sure that we stay nice and synced up during the game. I'm hoping at some point this will get all fixed up, but for now, don't worry guys, you will not miss anything of our first game. We'll just make sure everything is working perfectly fine. You can see there's some fans of Dard Hong in the chat. That's correctly identifying the one-trick nature of the top laner for Warwick. Did have that Renekton banned away. We'll have to see if they can perform as well on the Mundo this time round.
Yeah, definitely a losing matchup. The complete opposite of what Renekton would be if he was picked into essentially any top laner. So we'll see how well he can adapt to that. I'm sitting ready at 10 seconds, just waiting for the get-go.
All right.
And we can get into this game.
Hopefully we'll be all right. So if we count back in, so 3, 2, 1, go. And let's bring you guys along for the ride as well. So as you can see, Warwick, that's in Champion Select, playing over on the blue, East Anglia in the red. We'll see who is able to seize the advantage in this best of 3 series and punch their way towards the Semifinals.
Pings early coming out. Looks like Warwick's just looking to defend their jungle. Don't want to get into any early altercations, and neither does East Anglia as they just place a ward and back all the way up. We've said the words execution-based team comp so many times already, but the cat, I saw it. Don't pretend that I didn't. He bought a control ward and then had to undo it and buy the 2 health potions. He saw the red, he clicked the wrong item. That's not looking good. So he's going to have to clean that up. And of course, we get a pause early on into the game.
Alright, that unfortunately means we'll have to pause up in a second. So if we pause at 102, because this will erase all of our good work from before. It's a bit of an unfortunate thing, but it's just the reality of what the spectator is like at the moment. We're trying to get it fixed with Riot currently to make sure that everything is sorted out. So paused at 103, sorry there, Saga, for misleading you slightly.
Ooh, a whole second behind.
I know, right?
We're good to go.
I'm trying to look smarter by knowing things slightly ahead of you. Alright, so that will hopefully be enough for us. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so our semi-finals resumes.
I hear it was a top lane boom was the reason for the pause, so...
A top lane boom?
Yeah, I believe a top laner just sort of disconnected briefly, but we're back in the game.
Aha!
Lots of wards placed early. Look at that, 3 placed for the side of East Anglia, and it's like the cat and I Came to Party looking to just maybe try brush cheese or maybe put some pressure on Tea-Cake early on in the game.
Do you hear you guys talking in the chat that you'd like to see have us focus on the top lane? We'll certainly keep our eye closely up there. I do wonder, I mean, we talked about Karma Envy being a big Rumble player before, and Darkhong being the big Renekton player, both of them being forced off their main picks. I wonder if there's maybe some potential still for Karma Envy to get some pressure down for East Anglia in the top side.
I think generally when you have Gnar, you have the ranged matchup for, I'd say, the majority of the time when you're not in your transformed form, I suppose. So you have the ranged matchup. It's generally easier. You have the percentage health damage as soon as you get the W level up and get the speed up from that as well. So it's generally quite hard for a Mundo to really find anything. He doesn't have the best setup for ganks, and having 2 tanks trying to kill a Gnar might not go quite as well. So things should look fairly optimistic for Karma Envy, especially if he's able to help Lolman get some of the pressure around the map. But unfortunately for him, the first of his Kindred marks spawns on the top side Scuttle Crab, which is currently being killed by Tea-Cake, which means he's going to be delayed a little bit on getting the first mark and get that scaling on the way, unless he can find the champion picks. And it looks like the cat's got a hook.
Yeah, Percival gonna get picked out, but I Came to Party actually coming off a bit of a cropper there, taking a lot of trade damage back in. And while Percival's down low, I Came to Party, of course, with all the damage in pocket. Advantage for Warwick down bottom, despite the play being made on them.
Yeah, good trade back. I Came to Party was only on his 3rd shot of 4, so wasn't able to get the big Jhin damage, the satisfying shot through, and took a whole lot of damage back from Chazmaster, not giving up on the opportunity to trade some damage, but this time he takes the 4th shot. Now he's the one who's hit about half health.
Yeah, the burst damage coming out of the Jhin is pretty impressive. Bear in mind we're looking at a hail of blades Jhin here, so he's going to have that extra chunk of damage to punch through in those brief trades. Both the pots being burned here.
It's a fairly steady early game, other than just a couple of brief engagements in the bottom lane, which have left both AD carriers a little bit worse for wear, but nothing too dangerous for the moment. I have seen Nerve in the mid lane been taking some tips out of the Jensen book, mostly farming with auto attacks, and every time Arisu steps forwards, drops a bomb on her head, so he's been getting the chunk down with some of those bombs, but she sort of just passively regened it back up. She's back at full health again and hasn't even had to use a tick of her corrupting potion yet, and she's still sat at full mana, so survived through the early pressure and is now looking in a very good spot to make the comeback and start dominating this laning phase.
Crowd favourite matchup up in the top lane has turned in the favour of Karma Embry, so I think just as you said before, the harass potential from the East Anglia top lane has proven effective so far with that CS advantage. But yeah, I mean, to touch back on Lolman and that Kindred again. Oh wait, never mind, because we got the catch on the Chazmaster flash in. The Ignite comes down, and First Blood falls to Monkey Geisha, looking for a second. I came to party, has the burst. Ignite in return, ticking away. One lost tick, and it's enough. Percival gets the kill and gets out. We've got Tier Cake coming in from the side, both junglers down the bottom side, but surely nothing more.
Could be potential. Lolman is looking up the side, but decides against tower diving when the big beefy Gragas is there. But really nice pick off. As we said, the brief trades going back and forth in the bottom lane end up with Chazmaster getting caught a little bit out of position. The cat just easy flash forward, and Black Shield doesn't block the Ignite, but you know what else doesn't block the Ignite? Not using your heal. I came to party, gets caught out. He didn't think the last tick of damage would be enough, but Ignite did get buffed recently, so these guys, they've been playing the game for a long enough time. They have this idea in their head of how much damage an Ignite deals, and just a month or two ago, that got buffed, and that was just about enough for Morgana to get the trade kill onto the Jhin in the bottom lane. Crucially, though, both kills went onto the support, so neither AD carry really has that much of a gold lead advantage. Jhin has a little bit more gold, about 200, just purely based off the fact that his was a first blood, rather than just a, your everyday average common run-of-the-mill kill. But neither of them has the experience advantage too much, as I Came to Party does get back to lane a little bit quicker and gets the push on, thanks to the Thresh Lantern getting him there. But they're going to be looking for a little bit more aggressive trades now that he has the item advantage, as he's gone for the BF Sword to Chazmaster, who's gone for the double daggers and the boots.
Yeah, some raw damage at least on the side of East Anglia to keep them going. I thought we might be seeing Lolman making a move down towards the bottom side. You mentioned the Kindred marks. I have a quick check up on Lolman and see how they're doing.
He has not got a single mark yet. As we said, the first mark has to spawn on a Scuttle Crab, and to give credit where credit's due, TK has had fairly good control over the Scuttle Crab spawns. He won the coin flip and got the spawn on his side of the map in the early game, and the second spawn, he managed to clean that one up as well. So looking as though the next spawn will go towards the bottom side, and it looks as though junglers might be looking to play around that side of the map. Sorry, Twitch chat, but the top lane might not be super interactive this game, as it looks like Nerve is starting to make his way down towards that side of the map as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, at this point, Dardong has got the ult ready to be able to shrug off the damage, and has also kept up on CS as a attempt is made there, and we see Arisu finally breaking it through.
Phase rush.
Nerve going down very, very low, has got the ult to bring them back to life, but won't get to proc it. Arisu holds their last shot.
That's crazy. The poison stopped ticking just as he was on something like single-digit health, but just as I say, top lane might not be interactive, Lolman comes up to make an attempt.
Yeah, Lolman doesn't end up burning through the ult, ends up having to walk away, but Dardong has dropped down theirs in response. You can see, I can get the impression these top players fairly familiar with one another. They know what to expect.
Oh, a bit of a back and forth again around the Scuttle Crab. Player advantage though.
Oh, nice catch there on the bottom side. Chazmaster shot down the cat, gets another kill. There's the Ignite. This time around the heal comes down, but it's still not enough. And Percival lands another kill courtesy of the Ignite.
These supports are just bloodthirsty, and we have another, this time it's a jungler boom. But these supports are just getting all the kills, having the Ignite on both of them, and both times it's been them that have picked up the kills due to these trades in the bottom lane. This time I Came to Party did burn not only the flash, but also his heal as well, and it still wasn't enough. to keep him alive as Percival got the Ignite off and got the Grievous wounds down, cut the heal in half, and he was also taken down at the back of that fight. So another 1-for-1 trade in the bottom lane. Again, no advantage really either way picked up, barring the fact that I Came to Party now has one more assist than Chazmaster does, which is resulting in about a 300 gold lead altogether. There's a little bit of a minion kill lead as well. But on the top side of the map, while that was all going down, T-Cake with Jam, he got back up from both his mid and his top laner. As we said, Nerve was just forced out of lane, used the ultimate, but didn't actually die, so didn't get the revive. So he had no choice but to go back, as he was sort of sat in the lane on single-digit hit points. Against a Cassiopeia, that's not ideal. So Lolman and Karma Envy were looking to try and get that first Kindred mark of the game. 8.5 minutes in, but they weren't able to. They were at the player disadvantage. Arisu was coming up from mid lane. Dadhong was coming down from top lane. T-Cake was already there. And they're forced to give it up again. And it's going to be about 10 minutes before the next Scuttle Crab even spawns. And Lolman's still on 0 stacks. That's very far from the ideal situation for a Kindred.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they're in this really awkward situation where I thought that maybe Lolman was intentionally giving up these, on the board stacks to try and maybe look to pick up their stacks from actual ganks, but so far we're getting close to 10 minutes in, and Lolman, in fact, yes, the only kills coming through on the bottom lane. Lolman not able to make any kind of impact whatsoever. I have to feel like this is going to be a real major issue for East Anglia as it goes along, giving so much ground in the early going.
It is definitely a cause of concern, but however, you do have to consider the fact that Kindred scales with items fairly well. Having the marks on top of that is more of like a booster to the scaling that she already gets. And paired up with the Zillion, it's still going to be scary later on in the game when she's able to, just go absolutely nuts and flash over walls into team fights. And it's very, very difficult to punish that, even with the explosive cast from T-Cake with Jam. But for the time being, they're doing a really good job for the side of the Noob Slayers from Warwick at keeping Lolman down and keeping that scaling to a minimum for the time being. But it is starting to come through a little bit as Nerve is about to pick up his Rod of Ages in the middle lane. However, Irisu starting to stack up the tier already, looking to go for the tier and Catalyst build. So double scaling items. And as we touched on in the Champion Select, the scaling on the side of Warwick is very, very scary.
Alright, we'll see. We're going to get back into our game. We'll see if we can get by without... Okay, no, we're going to start stuttering immediately. So if we pause up at 8:45, sorry about this, guys. So in answer to the question I saw from the chat, Waluigi versus Pool Party Luges is the other semi-finals taking place right now. Of course, the winner of that will go up against the winner of this series in our grand finals next week. But, okay, so while we've got the chance... Saga, are there any particular item or power spikes we should be looking at here for either of the teams to take advantage of in the next few minutes?
I mean, as soon as Chazmaster gets the Storm Razor, I think it's going to be whether or not he's actually going for it, because he's got the double daggers, double longswords rather, sorry. So I think I Came to Party is going for the Storm Razor. I'm not entirely sure what Chazmaster's build is going straight for, but the bottom lane, it's already been explosive back and forth, so as soon as we start seeing those first couple of items come through down there, things are going to get way more bloody, and that's when we might see a little bit more of these, double teleports that they have for East Anglia coming into play and start making some more impact across the map in the bottom lane.
Okay, so pause up at 8:45. You ready to count him?
Mine ticked over to 8:46, so I'll just wait an extra half
devil.
Second. Pause.
Okay, I'm at 8:46, so let's count in. 3, 2, 1, let's go! Alright, so yeah, so we'll definitely keep an eye on Chazmaster. It's worth noting is, of course, that down the bottom lane, only Percival B, the Morgana, has got any summoner spells left in pocket, but Nerve is going to have use of their flash, blowing it to get away from the explosive cast, still being chased down, flashing from Arisu, trying to pour out that last bit of damage. Nerve doesn't have the ultimate available, and this time round, Arisu finishes the job.
Just immediately after the pause, these players just find the opportunity as Nerve already taken very, very low in the mid lane in the earlier engagement, had no chrono shift available to him this time, and even though he flashed away from the explosive cast, a good flash petrifying gaze from Arisu. Even though it didn't land a stun, it got the slow down enough for TK to get in range, chase him down, and Arisu picks up the final kill on that one. So that's going to really boost the scaling a little bit. It's already put him about 500 gold up over his lane opponent. As we've said, the scaling is very, very scary, and Lolman drops the mark on Dardhong in the top lane, so could potentially see some excitement going on in there. The Twitch chat special.
Well, there's pretty good vision for East Anglia up towards that top side, though honestly the same could be said for either side. So I think there's definitely the anticipation that something could happen down there, but right now Lolman is in the bottom side. Maybe we could see this Mountain Drake be an early focus of attention instead. See
Shelly has spawned.
Aha!
No one's going to go for that immediately. But the cat steps forward, goes for a hook, hits a minion.
Well, we're still waiting to see. I mean, there's a small CS advantage for East Anglia down in the bottom lane, but the Monkey Cage team are maybe looking to get a little bit aggressive. Percival will be burned through. Oh my gosh, if that death sentence had hit, that could have been a pickup. But look at that damage coming through. I came to party. I think perhaps kind of grateful that that engage didn't go further.
So it looks as though Chaz is going for the Essence Reaver build on Xayah. I think it's something that used to be a lot more powerful before the changes to Essence Reaver, but I mean, if you get to cast your invulnerability ultimate twice in a team fight, who's going to complain about that as a squishy, high damage AD carry who's a priority target? So we'll see how this build goes. I think having the Stormrazor would definitely give him a lot more early power, and he could really have more impact in these little skirmishy fights they're having in the bottom lane. Percival
gonna get caught up. The tower still stands. The cat has got the stopwatch to buy a little bit of time. But can Monkey Cage finalize the kill, or will Cat just become a victim? Can't get the shield in time, and that's a third kill going across to Percival's Morgana.
Oh, minions gave him that kill. They were hitting him with the auto attacks. He got over the wall. And it's still not done as Lolman
drops on the explosive cast to try and keep Lolman in place. Can't quite manage it, but still Warwick chase away. They get the kill, they get the ground, and they get possession of the bottom lane.
That was a really good opportunity for the cat to get himself the third kill of the game, but it was a really good flash from Percival to get away from the Flay and the follow-up, and both junglers were around in the vicinity, but TK got there first and was able to turn it around and get the kill on the cat. So now Percival, the support with the gold lead, with the kill lead, 3-0-0, and Karma might be getting run down.
Especially with the Rizu there, he's going to try and go for the lockdown with the Miasma, but Karma Envy doesn't have any way out. Really nice roam up there from Warwick's mid lane, and what could have easily been a first tower for East Anglia, I think might even turn back the other way.
Look at these pings on the Kindred mark. They know he's going to want it, but he's going to reveal himself on the map, just covering this top lane, clearing up the minions, making sure the loss isn't too much.
Percival going to get caught out there, getting chunked down. Will buy a few moments more. Chazmaster coming in from the side, can't make the save. I came to party, gets enough distance and gets a kill, their first of the game.
And that's fairly huge, because that's the 3-0-0 Morgana, and that kill actually this time went to the AD carry. Jin managed to pick up that kill. He got himself 600 bonus gold on the shutdown, and now he's got a 1,000 gold lead over Chazmaster, really from one kill, just purely because all of the kills have been on the support. So finding that pick could definitely be a huge swing in the tempo of this bottom lane in favor of the University of East Anglia.
Sagi, you mentioned the item pickups for Chazmaster. Will have that Stormrazor completed.
He's just confusing.
Dard Hong will be the focus of attention, though. It looks like East Anglia realised that Dard could be a real nice pickup here for Lolman, and it will be finalised. I think that's going to be another Kindred mark going through as Lolman finds their way back into the game.
What do you mean another? That's his first one. 14 minutes into the game, he picks up his first mark, and it's not even off a jungle creature. As again, TK has killed the Scuttle Crab, so he just doesn't have the opportunity to get them. It did spawn, there is one now spawned on the Raptors, but Lolman stuck around in the top lane and decided to go for the objective, takes down the first brick instead, so probably going to be sacrificing that mark as TK's going to head down and pick that up, but trading out one form of scaling for another. This one is global gold for his team, which no one's going to complain about. Gives his team about the 1,000 gold lead, which is not too shabby for 15 minutes into the game, given how back and forth the bot lane has been, but it's still by no means any real significant gold lead.
Yeah, well, Karma Envy now with that tower down in the top can keep applying pressure onto Dart as long as they can. We've got Nerve here trying to clear out vision around this first Drake, but it's actually going to be Warwick with the numbers advantage down there, as Nerve is fully aware of how dangerous the Risu can be. But low on mana, this Cassiopeia's threat is going to drop drastically. Karma Envy gonna take that old slap fight with Dart. I think, yes, ult isn't quite back up for Dart right now, but there is a completed Sunfire Cape for Karma Envy, just the components of a Black Cleaver.
Karma Envy somehow, despite getting the first brick tower in his lane, is down in levels. He's only level 10. Darthong has the level 2 ultimate. As soon as he gets a chance to pop that, he can either run someone down and get all his health back, or get himself out of a sticky situation, which is entirely potential for him to find himself in now that he doesn't have the safety of his first outer tower. But looks like Lolman is looking to get some pressure down on the bottom side of the map. Might start looking for that Mountain Drake that's been up and spawned for a good while. Just trying to get some wards down. Percival has other ideas though.
And Monkey Cage makes the catch onto Percival. The Black Shield will not stop the AD damage. Percival will get the stun through. But the cat, the one to get the kill again. The theme of supports taking all the gold still in place for the time being. But we've got East Anglia on the move. Chazmaster going to get locked down, but no, drops down
nice
the ult. Curtain Call comes through, looking to try and hit the target. Will be ducked away from the time being. We have got the Gragas buying space for Chazmaster. Chazmaster avoids every single shot.
Chaz just refuses to get hit. He's got those Muhammad Ali dodges on that one. Used the Featherstorm at the perfect time to get away from the Deadly Flourish out of Jin, and flashes nicely to the side away from the death sentence. Keeps himself alive, and that's gonna be enough pressure, just him being around now that Percival's respawned.
There's a catch on TK though, look at that damage! Lawman manages to pop out the ult just in time to stop the retaliation. The binding almost catches there to get something back for Warwick, but they are starting to fall behind. Arisu going to try and make up for it. Karma Envy, the hop, the skip, the jump, the flash, but there's no way away from Arisu, too fast to deny. Percival down the bottom side taking so much damage as well. The bonus comes through. Lawman gets another. The cat down low, as is Lawman. Dartholm comes in for the cleanup. It's going to be forcing out the flashes from the bottom side, but there won't be anything further.
Oh, the cleanup crew Mundo teleports in at the back of the fight and makes it a little bit less devastating, the losses that were just taken for Warwick. As Percival died once, respawned, walked back to lane, and just died again. But at least the pressure was there and it stopped the University of East Anglia from going for the objective that they wanted to take, whether that have been the Mountain Drake that they were hovering around or to get that first tower in the bottom lane. Neither of them were actually achieved thanks to some good defensive work from essentially the entire team, who has rotated themselves around efficiently and effectively and kept that objective alive. So they still have the safety in the bottom tower, if you can really call it safety with the amount of tower dives that are going on in this game. But Chaz still has a chance to farm up and get some items before the tempo is really pushed in this game as he gets forced away from his tower. So things still looking good for Warwick. As we've mentioned multiple times now, their scaling is a little bit better on the side of their team as they get the gold to get these items. And these attempts from East Anglia to really push the pace of the game faster and all these aggressive plays aren't really resulting in the one-sided swings that they're hoping for, as Warwick just seems to be responding effectively to it.
Alright, we're starting to get to some of those item break points here. Of course, Stormrazor now in the hands of both AD carries for that big old burst potential. Ooh, nice death sentence almost lands as another curticle comes out. We know that Chazmaster has got those fancy feet to avoid any real damage. But if we look around, we've got the Rod of Ages completed for both mid laners. We've also got Executioners coming in for Karma Envy in the top lane. Along with that Black Cleaver, might actually be able to deal with the Mondo 1v1 as Chazmaster dodges out. The ult that comes in, Lolman from the side. We're going to be seeing another tower dive here, Saga, and look at that damage! East Angular get the shutdowns there, and it's another kill onto the cat.
Yeah, at least this time, Jin picked himself up one as well as both of the bottom laners of Warwick went down, and TK's looking to answer in the mid lane, as is Dard. They're going for a 3-man push, but finally one of these aggressive plays starts to come into fruition for East Anglia, and they're able to break that objective in the bottom lane. Now, expect to see the cat work with Lolman a little bit, push around the jungle, maybe try and make some aggressive plays, roam around together, and really try and push the pace of this game now that they've got that objective taken down.
Well, to touch on Lolman, who we've now seen got 3-0-2 in this game after a pretty rough start, what's it going to mean for them that we've got this big tower advantage for Monkey Cage?
So the one major issue that they have at the moment is that the mid lane outer turret is still available, and it's being defended as T-Cake comes into...
Yeah, Nerve gonna be slowed down. Has, of course, Zillion with their considerable speed ups now able to deny the ganking power of T-Cake, at least when that T-Cake arrives announced.
So it looks like they're sick of this tower being alive, being a thing, and they're going for a 3-man strong group up in the mid lane. They really want to get that middle outer turret. That's always considered the most... what's the word I'm looking for here? The most valuable turret to take down, as it just opens up both sides of the jungle and the pathing. But Lolman doesn't care about jungles. He wants Chaz.
Fighting under the tower, not where Chaz wants to be at all. Lolman now with the most kills in the game, making up for lost time. Absolutely ludicrously. Let's check in on the old Kindred Mark watch. Now, wait, is that just 2 marks?
I believe it is. He got one off... I don't think he got one off Morgana in the bottom lane, as he didn't pick up either of those kills, so looks to be still just 2. Really hasn't been spending much time farming the jungle, at least in the opponent's side, as they have been defending their jungle fairly well, but he's been finding the roams to the side lanes, picking up kills here and there. Looks like he's going for the item scaling rather than the passive scaling.
Yeah, well, 80% kill participation, not too bad for I came to party in the early going. I mentioned before, it looks like East Anglia really have got their eyes on this mid tower, but that's a nice binding. However, is the wave clear enough to keep this last bit alive? Here comes the Karma Envy. They're going to get a lockdown here, and the curtain call from the side. Nerve locks down the kills. Percival desperate to get away. Featherstorm trying to deny Lolman, but nothing can deny. Darthong on the backlines trying to make up for lost time. Karma Envy down low. Arizu spots the opportunity, but here come the rest of East Anglia. Can they take down Darthong? They are already so tanky. Lolman can't quite break through, gets shut down. That's 750 gold across, and I don't know, can Nerve finish the job? Darthong, one last shot, one last bomb! It's gonna blow! And there's a shutdown for Nerve, who's able to escape thanks to the downed upper tower.
I'm in awe of the fact that Chaz died in the way that he did. He was getting chased down by Lolman in the backside of that fight, and it looked like he was going to survive, but a huge burst of damage from the E from Kindred, the proc at the same time as press the attack came through, and just that final auto attack did a huge chunk of damage and took down Chaz for the 5th time in this game. 5-1-5 now for Lolman at the back of that team fight. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get away from the Mundo, who has built this full armor build, has Ninja Tabbies, Sunfire Cape, and now a Randuin Zomin as well. Looking to build into the Warmugs next, but really the magic damage threats on the side of East Anglia are kind of lacking, and that comes back a little bit into the pick and ban, as we saw them ban out, something like 5 or 6 magic damage champions. All of the champions banned in the second half of the ban phase were ability power magic damage users, but looking as though that's going to work out for Darthong, as he's able to just stack armor and be as effective as he is in that fight, although Nerve was able to take him down at the end of a nicely placed bomb. No way to get away from it. But he does still have a 2-level advantage over Karma Envy, and Karma Envy has what you would consider a counter pick at this point in the game, with the the range champion, he should be being able to pressure Dardhong, but it looks like Mundo is just getting the better of him in this lane.
Yeah, but even while it looks good on paper for East Anglia's top now transitioned down towards the bottom lane, the gold lead is pretty significant though for Monkey Cage, with those 3 towers to 0 and of course the Mountain Drake being picked up for themselves. They do have access to Warwick's jungle to be able to maybe start stacking up Lolman's stacks, if they can maybe find any of the people from Warwick they've actually mocked to put down though.
Yeah, and the other thing that they do really well with a team comp like this is
Oh, wait
never
a second,
mind.
Dardhong gonna get caught out there, has got so much tankiness, but will there be enough damage for East Anglia? The lockdown comes through, look at the AoE! The Gnar goes in from the back, they're trying to disrupt as much as they can. Dardhong is still alive, doesn't get out the back of the fight. Karma Envy gonna pay the price as well. It's a massacre in the mid lane, and there's the triple kill for Nerve. The entirety of Warwick have been annihilated, all for the cheap price of 1 Karma Envy, as East Anglia turn onto the Baron at 25 minutes.
Well, that was just the perfect place to fight with a Zilean on your team. It looked as though they had the pick on Dardhong, and it looked like Dardhong was going to survive, and the cat was in a tough spot, but Nerve comes from the fog of war, drops the double bomb, stuns up 4 members of the Noob Slayers, and that's just a team fight over at that point. No answering back from that one. And just as I was about to mention, is the other thing that they do really well with this composition is the Baron, as they have essentially 3 ranged attack damage based champions that can deal percentage of max health damage. And you saw it at the end of that team fight. They were all a little bit low. They were taking down some hit points, but it doesn't matter. Baron's dead within 5 seconds of them starting it. And it's only across 4 members. I don't think Karma Envy has it. No, he didn't respawn quite in time to pick it up. But the rest of the team will now be much more potent in their pushing onto these towers.
And that's a huge gold advantage for East Anglia now. 9,000 gold ahead of their opposite numbers. We're seeing that manifest in some of the items. We've got the Infinity Edge coming in for I Came to Party. We've actually got a Gwynsu's coming in for Karma Envy on that Gnar.
Yeah, the Hyper really wants to get that the maximum health damage as quickly as he possibly can up against a Mundo who's built a lot of maximum health. He's currently sitting at, what is it, about 3,500 25 minutes into the game. So if he can get those wallops, hyper stacks rather, in only 2 auto attacks rather than 1, that's going to essentially increase his DPS in the 1v1 trades and could potentially be enough to swing the lane in his favor. But the other way that he can do that is just to link up with his team and just push down with the Baron buffs. So these cannon minions are going to be quite hard to clear out.
Of course, that big old Baron up cannon minion, if it can get access to Ta, is a nice way to peck away and maybe start getting Monkey Cage towards that first inhibitor. For now, though, Warwick able to devote their full attention towards this bottom lane, clearing out the minions, while Karma Envy moves towards the top to perhaps divide the forces of Warwick.
Tea-Cake with Jam didn't actually go for the couple of magic damage AP item builds into tank. He just went straight for the tankiness, has the Knight's Vow, and he's dropped that onto Arisu. It makes sense to do that, as she's essentially the one with half of the team's kills and is doing the most damage on the team in these team fights. But when 4 of you get caught out by a double Zilean bomb, get stunned up in a choke point as small and tight as that one is, that's not going to matter in team fights. So hopefully they're going to be looking to find engages and some little more open areas where the effectiveness of Zilean will be nullified a little bit by not having these choke points. But defending the base is not really the ideal place to be a team fighting.
Well, perhaps this will be the place. Lolman will be able to keep the ult up as Dardhong frontline, but look at that damage! Lolman able to smash down, and now it's going to be Warwick trying to escape back into their own base. The shots coming down, looking for one more, but the minions are gone. I think East Anglia still might be able to break through and claim that first inhibitor.
Karma Envy has the Executioner's Calling. I think he got that as just after he finished his Black Cleaver, he had that. So the healing from Dardhong was nullified essentially in that team fight, and it was nowhere near as tanky as what you'd expect a Mundo with 3 items to have been at this point in the game. And just purely the amount of damage that's coming out. As we've said, there is a lot of maximum health damage. And even with all the resistances that Mundo's built up, with the items he's purchased, they're able to burn through very quickly And that's enough. Getting rid of the front line is enough for them to take down the inhibitor in mid, and they're still not done with this push, as they're looking to take down more in the top lane.
The tower pushing power of Monkey Cage has been undeniable so far, with a 7-0 advantage every time they're moving in. The tower barely lost a moment. I don't know how Warwick can react to that.
That is a weakness that they have in the team comp that they've drafted themselves, is that they have some wave clear, but it's relatively close range. Xayah does have the rapid fire cannons, so can get some auto attacks down, but if you have Karma Envy or even Lolman at this point standing in front of minion waves, sort of frontlining, it's very difficult to get rid of the minions that are assisting the push into the lane or just into the towers or even into the base, as we saw in the mid lane. But it's something that's very, very difficult for Warwick to deal with, and it's really putting a damper on the scaling that they looked as though they were going to have a fairly easy time with in the early game.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned Arisu has got those items completed, has got a fully stacked Rod of Ages as well as the Archangels, Seraphs, and those 5 kills, but I mean, the two mid lane is pretty even as far as stats go, but the huge disparity between the junglers here. Lolman with a big old CS advantage, and of course 6 kills over Tea-Cake with Jam. It almost feels like Tea-Cake, aside from that explosive cast, just isn't a factor in these fights.
5,500 gold advantage for Lolman, which really doesn't feel like it's something we should be saying after he had such a rough start and wasn't able to get any marks or any scaling going in the early game. But again, in the bottom lane as well, I Came to Party is almost a full item up on Chazmaster. He has the Infinity Edge completed and the Last Whisper as well. Chaz just has the BF Sword on top of the mirrored items of the Storm Razor and the Rapid Fire Cannon. So big disparity as well in the bottom laner, and starting to stack up that armor penetration, so even he can deal with the Mundo, who's been building armor for the entire game.
Well, Karma Envy has felt like looks to be even more than comfortable to push that bottom lane by themselves. The Noob Slayers from Warwick desperately trying to find some kind of pick. Here we go. We've got TK goes in. Nice explosive cast to try and drive the team away. But that Lambstra Spike makes it hard to lock down the kills. The shutdown does come onto Nerve. And that's 3 members down for East Anglia. The Cat trying to desperately get away. Karma Envy did join the team, but not in time. And Warwick stay alive somehow.
Woo! Chaz got his first kill. Yeah, that was a really nice engage from Tea-Cake with Jam, as he hit the flash body slam onto 3 members of the East Anglia team, including, I think one of them was the Kindred, so it interrupted the timing that he wanted to get with the Lambstra Spite, and the explosive cast managed to mess with the usage. In fact, Nerve didn't even get a chance to cast Chrono Shift in that fight. That's how quickly the engage came through and how decisive it was. Even as Karma Envy teleported into the fight, he did have the Mega Gnar already procced and got the stun into the wall, but by that point 3 members of his team had already died. The Cat got chased down in the jungle. Chaz picks himself up that kill, and they're looking to take a dragon with it as well. Only going to be 2 elemental drakes in this game before the Elder spawns, so not going to be the most efficient Elder or the most effective Elder that's ever been seen in the game. But Arisu
gonna get caught out by themselves. There's no support from the West of Warwick, and we're looking at a nearly 1 minute death timer. Surely this just gives the Baron over to Monkey Cage again.
No one's in position, and they have no vision whatsoever in this area. So it looks like Warwick gets to play PvE for a little bit longer, as they're just going to have to deal with all these buffed up minions pushing into the base. But this time, Karma Envy has not died before the Baron gets taken down, so he also has the buff himself. And he's not built tanky whatsoever. He's going for a Blade of the Ruined King as his third item, on top of his Black Cleaver and Gwynsu's. So he's really looking for this damage heavy Gnar build. So him as a split push threat, particularly now with the Baron, is so powerful. And they already have an open inhibitor bot lane, but Percival might get caught out here.
Yeah, stop me if you've heard this before. Percival gets called out. This time actually doesn't get deleted, but we're seeing the full might of East Anglia pushing down, but the wave clear is actually good enough for Warwick to keep them at bay, even with Baroned up minions. There are 2 open inhibitors for East Anglia to be taking. I don't know if they need to go for the one defended one.
Yeah, this is you see Karma Envy has just wandered off into the mid lane and he's starting to attack the mid lane inhibitor, but it's kind of just an awkward time for this push to come through as they haven't got priority in either the mid or the bottom lane. Mid is starting to build up a big wave that will passively push in, that will need to be answered, but the bottom lane, look at the size of the minion wave that Warwick have pushing towards that second tower. It's going to be a long time before that reaches the base.
Engage attempted from Warwick. The explosive cast doesn't manage to catch anything, and this time round it's East Angler who dictate terms while Karma Envy picks up the inhibitor off the backside. Warwick now going to be driven back into their own base with 2 inhibitors being down. Karma Envy more than happy to give up their life for those global objectives. Dard Hong almost gets taken out on the backside, but still 2 inhibitors for a single death. Feels like a pretty decent Baron push.
Yeah, well, if you don't have the minion waves that are going to pressure the other inhibitors while you push down onto the only one that's defended, why not just send your top laner there to just suicide push and take them both down anyway? So they get 2 inhibitors with that push, and now there's almost no question that the minion waves from the East Anglia University are going to push in. They have the super minions. It might take them a minute or a minute and a half, but they will eventually start knocking on the doors of Warwick's base, and that will be the time to take the push in the top lane and really put pressure down on this final inhibitor. Because if it's not answered, the super minion waves are going to be pushing the Nexus turrets and could even potentially take it 1 or maybe even 2 of them down. And if a member of Warwick goes to deal with that, then they have an easy 4v5 tower dive, and it's very safe, surprisingly, to go for a tower dive when you have both the Lambs with Spike.
Wait a second. We didn't even see that on screen. Chazmaster just got blown up by Nerve. Yeah, the director
was
camera
he just in a minion wave?
I don't know.
Just got double bombed.
I assume so. I mean, that's Nerve's only offensive move, so
yeah,
it makes sense.
It was an unassisted kill, so he must have just got a little bit too close to a minion wave as it just got double bombed by Nerve. Look at the damage that it deals. Percival just got taken down to half health as well, just by 1 bomb.
Holy moly, I came to party. Just pouring out the damage all over the Noob Slayers. The Nexus towers are going to be evaporated. That's last play. They do manage to get the shutdown onto Lolman. Arisi trying to survive in the middle of the team fight. Will stay up, but the Nexus will not. East Anglia, Monkey Cage take this first game of the semis. Whew, what a ride.
Wow, and the crit damage just for some reason showed up on my screen again, but about 5 times bigger than usual. But to be fair, it was a pretty damn big crit that was landed by I Came to Party. It was something like 1,300 damage, just purely off one single 4th auto attack from Jin. But it seemed as though Warwick might have had a chance to stay in that game, but as soon as they lost the fight in the bottom lane, where they lost their